Welcome in to Fans Interference, the show, here on a Monday. And we're setting up our Periscope. Appreciate everybody stopping by. You can see me on Periscope right now for the listeners right here. And we are talking Charlie Strong in Texas. That's the big story today. I'm here at Bruce the Sports Doc. And Charlie Strong is in quite a predicament, isn't he, Bruce?
It seems so. It seems like he's being named in court documents and that he might be the third party in a, for lack of a better word, a love triangle. And obviously this isn't the kind of publicity that anybody would want, and it's very uncomfortable. Divorces are certainly emotionally charged, and to be named in a suit, especially in light of his situation, he basically what he's saying publicly is he's concerned with one thing. He's concerned about preparing Texas for the season, and that is, you have to come here a little bit.
Sure.
Sorry. And the reason we call it Periscope is because we're in a very narrow opening, like a sewer hole. So you understand that
I'm glad you guys are popping back in with us. This is a live show, and people are going to see this on Facebook after it's done. But every single show on Monday and Wednesday nights, usually around 11 o'clock, we're doing something new with Fans Interference. It's called FI the show, and it's a live Periscope show. So essentially, you guys will be able to direct our broadcast, will be able to ask questions and center our conversations, especially in this time period, Bruce, between, after football ends, between the NCAA tournament, there's not a whole lot of stories. That's why the Peyton Manning story got so much traction last week. This is a perfect time for the Periscope users to log in and attempt to ask questions on our show, on FI the show.
Makes sense to me. Also, I think that we've got to be willing to explore areas of pop culture. There's a show we're watching called Billions, which is really heating up. And we're going right into tomorrow is the Republican primary. It's actually the caucus in Nevada. And things are just completely going crazy now with Ted Cruz. One of the members of his staff was found putting out a bogus video about Marco Rubio. Really? And things, this is the most contentious, crazy primary I can remember.
What video did he put out about Rubio?
It's just coming out, so I don't have all the details. But you recall that the Ted Cruz put out a photobombed picture of Rubio looking like he was 3 feet tall, bowing to the at the altar of Obama. That was completely fake and very embarrassing. And now today, the big news, and we don't have all the details because we've been obviously concerned with the sports world.
Right.
Basically, apparently Ted Cruz, his team put out a fake video of Rubio looking bad to the point where Cruz actually had to fire one of his staffers. So we will keep you all posted, but that's as much as we know.
Well, you know what? I think we got to talk a little bit about Charlie Strong because we titled this the Charlie Strong episode. Essentially, Charlie Strong in Texas. He's the coach of Texas. He used to coach at Louisville last season. Coached at Texas last season, and he coached Louisville. He coached Teddy Bridgewater. So we will get to the McCoy situation. That's a very, very good question, and a lot of people are curious about that.
Yep.
But Charlie Strong, he happens to be in a situation where the male booster, the head booster of the University of Louisville, filed a divorce suit involving Charlie Strong and basically saying that he gave money to his former wife and was possibly, you can connect the dots that he might have been having an affair with the top booster's wife at Louisville. And now this is quite a situation, Bruce, because Texas, if they want to fire Charlie Strong, they might not have to pay him because they could just file this under inappropriate behavior at Texas. So there's a way that he can get fired if they want for misconduct at the University of Texas.
However, let me give you the counterpoint. Charlie has a multi-million-dollar contract. If Texas takes a strong action to defame and embarrass his reputation without hard evidence based on some filing in divorce court. Do you realize the incredible amount of remedy money that will go against Texas? Not only that, they will lose their coach. This is a complete disaster for all
Charlie
parties.
Strong went 5-6 last year at the University of Texas. He isn't even recruiting that well. Texas fans aren't even that excited with Strong. The only good win he's had there in his years is beating Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry game last season. So, I mean, I know Texas wants to keep Charlie Strong, but if this is an issue, it's just such a huge distraction from the program. It's such a dark cloud over the program. I think it could cost him his job. I really do.
I think it could, but what's going to happen, I believe, is Texas is going to announce that they are going to be investigating it. They are going to essentially not say anything public, and if they find hard evidence that he basically violated ethical boundaries in the contract, then Texas could take a stand, the University of Texas. But I think it's a mess right now.
Absolutely,
and let's get into. We got to respond to the people in the Periscope.
Oh yeah. So
let's keep moving.
So what are they asking about? LaShawn McCoy. Okay, that's the first thing.
Do you know the news? I know the news. Okay, the news of LaShawn McCoy. It looks good for him. Looks like he's going to escape. Basically, the investigation shows that the cops were drunk, and that some of the injuries on the cops were not due to McCoy being sucker punched, but the bouncers of the club basically, with these drunk cops, whatever they were doing, punching him or issuing him, leading him out, it creates enough smoke that I believe LaShawn McCoy will not, there won't be any charges faced. There will be no grand jury. And I think McCoy will have dodged the bullet.
Can you repeat that for me? Because I'm trying to read the Periscope questions. But these cops pretty much, like invoked the fight. Is that essentially what happened?
What came out today is that the investigation shows that the cops at least contributed to the liability of this fight. That is, they're arguing about the champagne. They were proven to be drunk, and most importantly, the off-duty cops themselves, these are off-duty, plainclothes officers, were found to have been thrown out by bouncers of the club, big bouncers, and that action of throwing them out caused physical harm to the police officers, which I think will ultimately exonerate McCoy and will obviate, to use some legal words, obviate the need for the Philadelphia DA to bring any charges. I think this thing will just
You're
pass.
really impressing this crowd here on Periscope, and I really appreciate you guys filing in again every Monday, every Wednesday, 11 o'clock, right here. Follow us on Fans Interference. We have a couple of questions. Some people are excited about the X Games coming up. I only know one snowboarder, and that's Shaun White. So my knowledge on the X Games is not that much. I'm sorry to report to you there. It's sort of like an 11:30 watch if nothing else is on. Yeah, Bodie Miller is another good example.
Very good.
Well, yes, our Periscope listeners, you could chat on Periscope about that. Okay, Jaleel Okafor.
Jeremy Bloom, fifth-round draft pick.
Oh, yeah.
He had a very long and storied career for the Eagles. Not exactly. There was one problem.
He was the chosen one.
Well, let me tell you the problem, if I might. The problem is, if you're playing in the NFL and your job is to return punts and you are afraid to get hit, guess what you do? You do a lot of fair catches, and that's exactly what Jeremy Bloom did.
This is poor man's Vince Papale.
Well, very poor
man. Can we make a movie about Jeremy Bloom?
I wouldn't even put them in the same sentence. That's an insult to Vince Papale. To Invincible. I won't even.
Part skier, part amazing.
Well, he's a lot skier, but part, not wanting to get hit, and that was yesterday's news. I don't think we have to devote much time. Let's continue.
I thought this whole show was going to be about Jeremy Bloom, actually.
Lindsey Vonn. Now, Lindsey Vonn. There's a great thing with Lindsey Vonn. She actually destroyed her skis and destroyed her head bindings. Let me explain how that is a disaster.
And this is great because you guys on Periscope are adding in some topics that I had no idea that we were going to bring up today.
Let me tell you
Jeremy Bloom, when I was planning this show, I never in a million years would I think Jeremy Bloom would get.
Okay, let me speak. So people don't realize that Lindsey Vonn gets a multi-million-dollar contract for the head company for the bindings, okay? And while she was racing, the bindings failed and she fell. And what she did was not very smart. She actually took a video of taking a sledgehammer to destroying the skis and bindings. Needless to say, she had to walk that one back a little bit for her sponsor.
What do you think was worse, the destruction of Tiger's 9-iron in the front yard or Lindsey Vonn in these skis?
Skis were much worse because there was no brand and there was no video of the 9-iron. And in fact, the fact that he was able to actually, she was able to use a 9-iron and do substantial vehicular damage. It shows you what a great 9-iron is and how his wife was able to get so much torque to do damage to his vehicle. So I personally would be very proud of the company with the 9-iron, as opposed to the head binding company, which was completely embarrassed. Imagine if you have a piece of sporting equipment and you take a video destroying it because it ruined your tournament. Not exactly a good thing as being a sponsor.
We're jumping to Jaleel Okafor. We're going
Let's go
around
right
the
in.
horn.
Go. You
Yeah,
take this
Jaleel
one.
Okafor.
Take this one.
I thought, actually, I was excited about Jaleel getting traded because the Sixers are just so stacked on centers. They have Okafor, Joel Embiid, Nerlens Noel. Like, the problem with trading MCW is that you got no proven commodities back. So if you were going to get a Blake Griffin, if you were going to get an Al Horford, well, maybe Al Horford wouldn't be a great example, but the thing about Blake Griffin is that he can play fast. So Jaleel Okafor, if he has a guy that can play fast like Blake Griffin, he can complement him better. You also want to validate and get credential I'm trying to find the word here. You want to make your franchise replicable.
Reputable?
Reputable.
Not
and Blake
replicable.
Griffin knows NBA All-Stars. And that's why getting a known commodity for Jaleel Okafor, that's totally the move in my eye.
Okay, let's be clear. This trade rumor had nothing to do with Blake Griffin, none at all. The trade rumor was clearly with the Boston Celtics and apparently dealt with their upcoming draft pick. As it turns out, that was leaked by the Boston media. All we know is Okafor was one of the participants. There was no naming of any other parts of the trade. However, I believe the fans here in Philly were appropriately aghast by that. Why is that? Okafor, number one, had a great game last night. He had 31 points and a half. This guy is only 20 years old. So look at the nucleus of this team. You got Okafor is only 20. You got Noel's 21. And you've got Embiid, albeit, he had his second broken foot. But if he comes back next year, you're going to have 3 first-round draft picks. And again, there was a bit of a Hinkie sighting today, Spencer. I think you weren't able to see this.
We are talking about the Sixers.
We are talking about the Sixers.
Yes.
So
and
Hinkie
guys,
came out,
any questions, keep them firing, keep them going.
That's right. Hinkie came out on 97.5, and he didn't even come out on Mike Missinelli's show. He came out on the midday show and basically said just that. Guys, don't worry about it. We've got multiple first-round draft picks. He names Nick Stauskas, a little bit questionable, and he called them lottery picks. And next year, they could possibly add 4 more lottery picks to the team and have 7 lottery picks. So there was a Hinkie sighting today. Obviously, he's pushing back against Colangelo.
Is that true? And you know what else I heard? Dario Saric might not be coming to the Sixers next year.
Is there something new? Did you hear that today?
I also heard that he's still questionable, that he could still opt and stay in. He could also stay
in Turkey.
In Turkey, and wouldn't that be a disaster? So you have Embiid, Saric. You're not making progress with the Sixers team. Like all the 76er supporters that love Hinkie's plan, it's all these hypotheticals. Oh, Joel Embiid's going to be great. Oh, Dario Saric is coming over.
And the answer is we're not forced to watch the team.
We're very lucky.
I'm very proud to say, as a season ticket holder, I've eaten more games. In fact, there are more games passed without even my knowledge, where I didn't even look in the drawer to see if I have tickets. And I'm talking about games including the L.A. Clippers, the Atlanta Hawks.
Good teams.
Against good teams. Absolutely apathetic. I must say, I've got one more game left. If anybody out there wants the tickets, I'm giving them away for the Washington game, and it's coming up in a couple weeks.
For FI the show.
And again, you guys are welcome to it. Whoever chimes in first.
The Sixers games are honestly still fun to go to. I love watching NBA basketball, and the season is really, really too long. I mean, it's miserable. 5 months of watching basketball. I go to Sometimes I go to McFadden's at the ballpark, or for you college kids, go to Xfinity Live. And the fact that they're still playing basketball in late March after the tournament is over, it's the most depressing sight. It's completely an afterthought. Completely an afterthought. The seasons, this year's felt like 5 years.
Now, I've said this every year for the last 4 years. If they don't try to win next year, if they don't, number one, sign their first-round picks, they don't trade them away for second-rounders, they don't draft all Serbian and former Yugoslavian players and people in Siberia like they've done the last few years.
I know.
If they trade Okafor, if they roll it over for more first round the following year, I've said it and I'm going on record. I'm giving up my season tickets
and the
next year.
You know what the Hinkie supporters say? You know what the Hinkie supporters say? They really say that, these second-round picks are going to turn into something. Instead, it's just all these guys from overseas, from Slovenia, and they never come by. They just are kind of in cyberspace. It seems like, right?
Yeah,
everyone was excited about 6 picks, and a lot of people on here, one person mentioned LeBron is going to make it to the finals, and that's why NBA basketball, the best teams win, but it is so predictable. I mean, even though Toronto had a big win tonight and Atlanta played Golden State tough, it's just you already know what's going to happen before it even does, and that I think is a weakness a little bit in the game of basketball in the NBA.
I've got to make a point. Dario Saric was the 10th pick for the Sixers 2 years ago. They could have had Doug McDermott. So Doug McDermott scored 30 points for the Bulls 2 days ago. If Dario Saric never comes to Philly, this is a complete travesty.
I know.
It grounds for firing.
Dougie is insane.
Grounds for firing of Sam Hinkie in itself to give up on the savior, Dougie McDermott.
You know what, Doug McDermott, man, he has the sweetest shot in the NBA. He's coming along defensively. He's a leader of men. And people are debating out there whether Kurt Rambis is the worst coach in NBA history. I think Sam Mitchell or Randy Whitman, there are so many bad coaches out there. Get Luke Walton on the phone. Get me and Bruce, the sports doc, off of Fans Interference. We could coach the Knicks better. Why didn't they trade Carmelo Anthony? Why didn't the Magic trade Brandon Jennings? It's just malpractice of general management right now. It's ridiculous out here, the product that we have to see.
Yes.
I even lost my train of thought about Kurt Rambis.
Good. Well, allow me to chime in while you regain your train of thought.
Doug McDermott, by the way. Oh, would he look good in the Sixer uniform?
Well, Wesley Kaminsky watches
Stauskas. Oh, man.
He watches every Bulls game, and it's true, Doug is still a role player on the team. And the fact is, though, he is playing better under Fred Hoiberg, and you just expect guys to develop. I think Doug's playing a little better defense, and if we have a guy, Saric, who's just an invisible man, then why draft a guy? It's just a terrible strategy.
If Saric never comes over, that would be one of the biggest blunders in the history of basketball.
I think that's slightly overblown, but let's continue.
And how about the fact that the Lakers pick might not even come in this year?
That's right. You know the top 3 are lottery protected. The Lakers, if they continue to lose, they're going to roll it over, and next year, finally, the pick will not be protected. So wherever it lands, the Sixers will get it. But again, we're kicking the can down the road.
Yes, we are. Another good question on here is Carmelo Anthony. What's his trade?
Iverson for head coach. You know what he's coaching right now? He's coaching a weed factory in Colorado.
In China?
No, in Denver, where it's legal.
Okay.
He's not going to be a coach. Because you know what? Talking about practice, what are we talking about? Are we talking about practice? Come on.
That's a pretty good Allen Iverson impression.
Especially at this late hour. I think
right off the spot.
Bad.
Tell us what you think, guys. Allen Iverson, I personally,
head coach,
I like
not
Allen
going to happen.
Iverson a lot.
It looks like we're going to be winding things down.
I think so. The last question, guys, we have 3
question.
more minutes. It's rapid fire time here on Fans Interference, the show. Thank you so much for coming. Yes, some young talent. I mean, we have your son, your daughter can join the show. But anyway, trade value.
You got to catch the
trade value for Melo. Okay, that's what we're going to talk about. I think Carmelo Anthony. They should have traded with the Boston Celtics. They would have gotten the third-round pick, or you could have traded him to Cleveland, and then Kevin Love would go to Boston. I wish that three-team trade worked. I wish, and Porzingis should be, Godzingis, the best nickname in sports. He should be your franchise player. Blow it up. Kurt Rambis is your coach. You think you're getting the 8th seed? You're not. He's taking you down. He's taking you right to ESPN. That's where you're going, Knicks. He's on a one-way trip right back to Bristol with Jeff Van Gundy, and he's going right back with Jeff and Brent. That's exactly where he is going. And last question for you guys. We're going to go overtime. It's a special premiere of Monday's edition. This was a great poll question last night. Me and Sports Doc were talking about it. What is the best place for Peyton Manning to announce football games next year? What network, what show, what time? Let's hear some response. And we could continue to talk.
Well, you know what I always say about live radio? Dead air is the worst thing. You were talking about going on with Jim Nantz and Phil Simms. You were also talking about post-game, certainly, following, I guess, Monday Night Football.
Yes.
And so I think that is it was our lead.
Yes.
And then we can continue because there's not a lot of
there's
not
a
tremendous. I think people are just thinking.
Giving people.
I don't think you want to really wait. This is the very end.
Well, no,
so
we're
let's wrap
getting a
this
lot
up
of
strong.
comments. We're getting a lot of comments. CBS.
Nance.
There's so many comments I can't keep up.
That's true. There are a bunch flashing by.
A bunch are flashing by. So Jim Nantz and Peyton would be great. I think Aikman and Buck and Peyton Manning.
I see the time has come.
I think we're going to end it on a high
we're
note. We are feeling it right now.
And so we appreciate everybody tuning in to our Periscope.
We are feeling it.
We are simulcasting on Facebook, on Fans Interference. And for some of you,
we just hit 4 3-pointers. We're going to end now. We're going to end it now. We're not going to prolong any
Let me
topic.
finish how the fans can find us now. So again, Fans Interference Facebook. If some of you are unfortunate enough to be my Facebook friends, then you have the choice of just omitting it or clicking on it and streaming it. And finally, of course, on Periscope, this will be available for how long?
Record numbers, 24 hours. Share it, please. Share it. And guess what, guys? We appreciate you joining us tonight, late night. We know that you're out there trying to prolong going to bed. This is what Fans Interference is for.
Thanks so much, and have a good night.